Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Formula One podcast, straight to the apex. We've got everyone here. We're talking Formula One podcast, Formula One races, Formula One race reviews, race previews, all of the stuff that you need to know about what's going on in the Formula One world right now, and it's all here in one podcast. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Drop in a review you want to drop. And if you have a Formula One fan in your life, send this podcast their way. They might even thank you for it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, straight to the apex.
Go.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, hello, aloha, any other language I can think of, I don't know. This is episode 23 of Straight to the Apex. Back in the driving seat, I'm the host this week with James Stainforth. On the pit walls, we've got the almost as attractive as me with a bit of a kind of skunk look in the beard, Mark Wilkin, and and then there's Tony. Say hi, Tony.
Hello.
You haven't even got our mug. You're not on
Just
brand.
invested in some power beats and I'm using them to full advantage. Whoa, can you hear me?
Hang on. Who?
What do you mean, who?
No. What are they?
Power Beats Pro.
All right. Beats.
Yeah.
Are you just hesitant because you're confused, or hesitant because you've got a shit internet signal?
I'm hesitant because you're quizzing me on my Power Beats Pro.
I'm just saying you're listening on a device that I believe was funded heavily by Dr. Dre.
Yes.
And
where is this going?
You're meant to be like a hardcore Kanye West fan. You know, you wear his ridiculous shoes, which are just Crocs. Walk around dressed like him and all this kind of stuff, and then you listen to Dr. Dre. Yeah.
Never cross the streams.
Unfucking believable. Is it because you found out that you're starting to lose a lot of money and all this kind of stuff? You're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna move on. So you jump from West to like Aftermath Records.
Has Kanye actually got any fans? I'm loyal. Has he got any fans? You can't still be a fan.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
No.
Don't go there.
No.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Should we save that for the Kanye West episode?
Yeah, we'll do a special Kanye West podcast. And that was it. Good night, folks.
Yep. He's overrated than shit. Good night. See you later next week.
He's a dick. Welcome to Horner's Corner.
We're getting him angry already, James. Look at his face. George Russell.
George Russell.
Lando Norris is the next world champion.
No. Anyway,
George Russell can rap better than Kanye West.
Right. I'll finish.
Any driver apart from Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen.
I'll top you all, and I'll say this. I'll start the podcast with this message from Tony. Fuck the Mexican GP fans. Fuck you for booing Lewis Hamilton, Sir Lewis Hamilton. How fucking dare you? How fucking dare you?
We'll get to that later. And any of our Mexican listeners, I, on behalf of Tony, would like to apologise.
I would.
I don't know any Mexican, but sorry.
Sorry for Tony sweeping you all under that same brush.
He's a dick.
If you booed Lewis Hamilton, you're an asshole.
A lot of people boo Lewis Hamilton. You boo George Russell.
I'm sorry. 7-time world champion, a legend in the game. You can't boo him. Can't boo him. What's he done? What's he done for you to boo?
I hope you're not thinking of going
Give me a reason
anytime soon, Tony, because you are getting shot.
Give me a reason.
Yeah.
I know why. Your shitty driver came third. And I'll tell you right now, he'll never win one. He'll never win one world championship.
No, you know what? If we're on this now,
win one.
No. If we're going to go through this now, let's do this now.
I'm doing this now.
No. Hang on. My turn to speak now. Oh yeah. Okay. Can you want to be?
James is hosting, Tony. Remember that this week.
Yeah. I'm in the driving seat here, bitch. So
you caused this. You got me all fired up.
Hang on. This shitty Mexican driver you're referring to was one of the ones who actually turned round to his fans and said, "Stop booing."
Yep.
There's literally video clips of Hamilton walking up to the mic, putting his earpieces in, all the booing, and Perez turns round to them all, just waving his finger.
Yeah.
Does a full-on Fernando Alonso at a lot of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got to give this shitty Mexican driver some credit there. I don't think he's shitty either. You know my thoughts on Perez. I think he's good. He's just getting hard done by because he's been given Max's car. Which is something else I'm going to bring up later on. I actually just remembered that as well. I'm actually really excited now because I think there's some conspiracies here. For all the American listeners who think there's a conspiracy about everything, 9/11, I don't know, walking on the moon, all that kind of stuff, I've got another one for you. And it shits on everything. Elvis is still alive.
Can I just say, I don't want to do predictions this week at all.
I do. I want to do predictions. I really want to do predictions.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. Right. Come on.
Anyway,
so you're taking us off track.
Oh, got you there.
So what I'm thinking is, because let's face it, it wasn't the greatest race in the world. Even the commentators said it on the race. Just went, not the best. So I think we do quali, we do the race, get all that stuff out of the way.
Yep.
Then we'll do some news. I'll throw in my little conspiracy. Then we'll have a right good bitching session, full on instigating Horner's Corner.
Yes. If there was ever a time, it's now.
Like it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
So, who has seen the race? I'm not going to say put your hands up because, for the benefit of people who wouldn't know.
I was watching American football in London and staying in Milton Keynes for the weekend, half a mile from Red Bull's headquarters. They may not been vandalised while the team was out in Mexico.
That's no reason, man. That's no reason. We're on an F1 podcast and you're watching NFL. You might as well be on a NFL podcast.
I was last night. Sorry.
The guy who fucked off to fucking Barbados or wherever it was.
Yeah. And never watches a race all season, and he's got cocky tonight. I've watched qualifying, and I'm going to watch the race. I haven't watched it yet because I've heard a lot of reports that it wasn't one of the best.
I'll make a suggestion for you now. Just before you press play to watch the race back, paint a wall.
Really?
Yeah. Just paint a wall next to the TV and see which you find yourself watching more.
Well, I mean, I haven't watched the race, and I've probably got more notes than Tony about the race.
Yeah. To be fair, yeah. I've got great start.
Gobshite.
Oh wow! To be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I think I was sat watching the race, and I think it got about 10, maybe 11 laps in, and then I'm sat there, I'm like, I haven't made any notes. And I was like, I was like, I've got nothing to fucking write. I think at one point I started playing noughts and crosses with myself on there.
I've got 7 points for the race, 2 of which I actually watched the crashes just so I knew what I was talking about. So I've got some points. Tony, how many have you got for the race?
I've got one.
So shut the fuck up. James, carry on.
I've got one.
All in.
What was it?
all in
The one
here.
you mentioned a minute ago, which went, good start.
No.
Was that it?
That's all I've got. Look. That's
Tony's-
literally all I've got. Look.
Tony says, Beth mentioned this. That's all it says. Beth mentioned this, and then he stopped listening. But like his pen goes off.
Race close. Good start. Shame about the other 70 laps that followed. Yeah.
He didn't know there were 70 other laps. He probably fell asleep after 5.
It was 70.
71.
No, in all honesty, it wasn't bad. Latifi stayed on.
Whoa. Spoiler alert. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you see, man.
But Alonso didn't.
I know about that. That might be one of my notes. Cheers for that. Was that your only one?
I think my first note that I made on the race was lap 24. Like, oh, me. And I wrote that in excitement, thinking, I've got something I can talk about.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to watch the race then.
But no, qualifying was all right. Again, I'm not going to lie, even though I just kind of gave you two a bit of a lecture there. I don't remember much about qualifying because I was at a friend of mine's Halloween party who was very, very generous in handing me gin. I did get home in time to watch said qualifying.
All right.
And fell asleep with a gin in my hand at the start of Q3. To which I then got some funny looks from the wife going, well, you haven't got many notes for your podcast, have you? But like I said to you last week, Tony, just always agree.
Did you wake up thinking Lewis or George was on pole because you thought, oh, there was top Q1 and Q2? They're going to be on pole yet. Oh, no.
That did. You know what? In all honesty, they did well. I ain't going to take it from them. I mean, to actually come out of that second and third on the grid, that's pretty good going.
Why do you think that was? Because the updates didn't work in the last race. Why do you think they were saying it's all about the altitude and everything? Let's be honest, Merc never do well at Mexico. Really.
No.
They always struggle with the engine cooling, obviously the power. Well, they haven't got power this year. So is that why they did well, do you think?
Possibly.
Did they gamble and other teams didn't?
Well, yeah, they might have took a gamble. They might have set the car up right, got it in the window. But yeah, Q1 and Q2, like you said, they looked very good.
Well, in the middle of said lecture from the beloved wife, Charlie, in case you do listen to this one podcast, which you haven't listened to the other ones, let me just say that that wasn't sarcasm.
Honestly, wasn't sarcasm.
No comment. No comment.
She did actually go out there to tell me that Russell did actually have a lap time taken off, didn't he, as well in Q3? So there's I can't remember what the lap time is, or if they even said what it is, but there's some contention saying he possibly could have got pole. We don't know, but not bad for Mercedes. I think they're just fine tuning the cars now. Because I think really they just want to get Lewis's win. Just going by what they said at the end of the race to him, just said, it was close this week, we've still got 2 races.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Do you think if Woody's in front, George Russell's in front in one of the last 2 races and Lewis is behind, do you think he'll move over?
That is a very, very good question.
Well,
That's a very good question. I actually don't know.
For the points wise, because
you better do all fucking hunt him down.
There isn't many points between him. There isn't many points between him and Russell anymore. I think there's only something like 16 off the top of my head. I'll check in a bit. So Lewis could outscore him towards at the end, which would be a blow for Russell because he's never been outscored by a teammate. If it makes him feel better if he does get outscored, at least he can turn around and say, yeah, but it was Lewis Hamilton and it was only in the last minute. But I don't know. There's 2 more races. One of them's Brazil, which is another one Hamilton really likes, and the crowd there love him. And what is it? Nigel Mansell said about Silverstone, it's a 2-second track or whatever he called it. Because as soon as you're at, your home track or you've got the fans behind you, that just gives you like 20% more boost. So yeah, could be interesting.
He's an honorary Brazilian now, isn't he?
He is.
So
yeah. Team orders. I don't know. That's an interesting one.
Yeah,
but
I think they will. Maybe that's my heart talking though, not my head. I think.
Have you got any more on qualifying or?
Obviously, you've just said about Russell having his lap deleted. Lewis had his first run in Q3 deleted for track limits. Ferrari was half a second off pole. Half a second. And that was Sainz, and Leclerc was 7th. That was a bit shit. And the other thing I found funny was, which you probably won't remember because you was under the influence, James, was Schumacher absolutely cutting the corner, basically cheating. He didn't even try and make the corner. He literally just went straight across the chicane and the delete.
Oh, no. I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just laughing because I thought you had no intention of making that corner, mate. You just thought, shall I try it? Yeah, all right then.
You know what? This is a really good episode, this so far. I know we kind of touched on it before we pressed record and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm just going to put this out there. F1 podcast, we're meant to say, hey, F1's fucking great. F1's this so far, blah, 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 blah. So far, I've turned around and said, I was too pissed to remember the qualifying. I haven't watched it back. And and also made the comment of, I tell you what, paint a wall and watch that dry while you're watching the race back and see if that's any better.
And I chose American football over Formula One. Interesting. But yeah, there wasn't really, like you say, qualifying was it was just a bit standard, wasn't it?
I was going to say, yeah, it was what Tony would call a standard qualifying. It was prestigious and all his big words.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen nails it again, and
class again. You can't. He was well off.
Can't deny it. I'm not going to boo him.
Quali 1 and 2.
I've got class.
He nailed it. Yeah, he nailed it.
It was brilliant that entire bloody weekend was Max. But yeah, at the end of Q3, so standings that went into the race then was obviously, I nearly called him Maxi Boy then, and a little bit of vomit came. But yeah, Max took pole, followed by Russell, Hamilton in third, Perez in fourth, Sainz fifth, Bottas sixth, Leclerc seventh, Norris eighth, Alonso ninth, and in 10th was Ocon.
Are you all right, Tom? What was funny about James reading the list out?
What, that I nearly called him Maxi Boy?
Where did that come from?
I don't know. I used to call him it a couple of years ago until I started thinking, you're a dick. And the names that I generally call him I can't use on this podcast.
Maxi Boy, Woody, who else? We'll just carry on. We'll carry on.
Good point. Yeah, the only ones we actually call by the name is like Latifi and Stroll.
Well,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do call them other names, like Useless and Knobhead, but, we do actually call them Stroll and Latifi, so...
Names we can't share on the podcast.
No, definitely not. No. So, yeah, that's all I've got.
Group. What was that, buddy?
That's all I've got from Quali, really.
I'm going to say, yeah, there was... Oh, we've already said it was pretty standard. Nothing major happened or anything else like that. It was just meh. But we're moving on to the race now anyway.
Okay.
So the first point I'm going to bring up is Ferrari. Obviously, you mentioned it a minute ago, didn't you? It said, Ferrari was only like, what was it, a 10th of a second or something behind. They was really close in quali.
No, there was half a second off.
Oh, half a second off. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, what's going on there? Because on the race day itself, I know you haven't seen it, Mark, and stuff like that, so apologies, but on race day, they was really off. Really off.
They blamed the altitude and basically what Mercedes have blamed the last few years that they've been racing at Mexico. They said their engine just did not work because it wasn't getting the air in. Pretty much. I think that simple as that. It just wasn't working.
The car is so unreliable that when you take that car to 2,000 feet, the only way to get round the track for 71 laps was to literally stay in second gear.
I think they've turned their engine down. I think you've made a really good point there. I think the reason they had all the breakdowns is because they were at the limit, and because of the engine freeze, you can't develop it unless it is reliability. But I honestly think they've turned their engine down the last 3 or 4 races.
End of the season, it's very close. Maybe they're literally just now shifting to other races.
And that is the second point in my entire 1 page of notes on said race. Second point I've put on there is, have Ferrari dialed down? It was ridiculous.
They can't win championship, can they? They're out of both championships. They're clinging on to second. I think they've dialed it down and given up. Thinking they've got second in the constructors, which I haven't got the constructors written down, but I think they're closing in.
They're not far off. We've said it a few times, haven't we? There's still a bit of a tussle for second, and the way things are going, just down to Mercedes' reliability, they could quite easily take second place. There's only so many more letters in the alphabet that Ferrari can put into a plan now. So,
well, in the race, Leclerc said, "Was it Plan C, E?" And they were just like, "Nah." They're pretty much translated to, "Meh, just carry on."
Yeah, I'm trying, because he said, would Plan C work? And
the tyres, they wanted to change the tyres, and they were kind of just like, no, just carry on. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I think it was the traffic they mentioned or something like that, wasn't it? So it wasn't going to be worth it.
I mean,
that's brilliant.
You two will probably tell me, obviously, because I haven't watched it yet. But from what I read, Russell was unhappy with Merck's strategy, and he was asking to ditch the hard tyres. They pitted for softs about 3 laps from the end and got fastest lap. Lewis complained about the strategy, saying that why Red Bull started on the Red Bull went soft medium, and Hamilton went medium hard, as did George. I mean, did they mess up the strategy, Mercedes? Did Red Bull just get it right?
Yes. It is a straight answer to your conversation. It's a straight answer to your question. Afterwards, Lewis said they agreed on that strategy, and then when the covers came off, they were like, shit. They continued with that strategy, and it was kind of all downhill from there.
Totally there as well, didn't he? On the radio at the end, Toto even came on and said, it want the right tyres.
Yeah, I mean, when you're abandoning it, when you just like basically just slash in the last lap, trying to pit, then try and get the fastest lap, you're onto a loser, aren't you? But
I was getting a little bit annoyed with Russell though.
What mode?
I was. He just went on too fucking much, if you ask me.
But Lewis was doing it as well.
I think the start of the strategy was good. I think it was brilliant. Obviously, there was a lot of things that happened. Sounds weird saying a lot of things that happened when nothing really happened. Because Pirelli had turned around and said that the mediums, could last 51 laps. And obviously they was on mediums, and I think Lewis had fresh mediums as well off the top of my head. So they wouldn't have done 51 laps, but they probably could have gone to about 40 odd. And then look to go on softs and stuff like that. So it didn't look too bad.
They were bargaining on
softs. Max started off on softs, and I think Right, so yeah, Max came in on lap 25 because on lap 24 Sergio Perez came in and it was a shit pit. It was 5 seconds left rear out, came out behind Leclerc, and then Max came in on lap 25. Now Max was on softs, and about 2 or 3 laps further in, you heard it on the radio. I think it was Horner went to him and said, we've looked at the tyre deck. It was fine. There was nothing really wrong with the tyre, so the softs probably would have lasted a bit longer. But Mercedes didn't come in at that point, so why? And I still don't quite understand it because Mercedes then came in on lap 29 with Hamilton, and at first I thought he'd gone medium to medium, so I thought, right, he's doing a 2-stop, and then it turned out he was on hard. So I'm like, it seems a bit early, really, to change in your mediums, but.
The soft is the quicker tyre. As soon as they took the covers off, I think they were on the back foot. And their only hope was to follow that through, hope that the medium degraded, and their strategy had then pulled them back into the race and hopefully overtake them. However, like you just saying there, the mediums just held on better than what Pirelli said. And that's why it was just such a boring race, because it just, the longer it went on, and nothing happened, because I think Mercedes were hanging out for like a VSC or something like that, or a safety car. The longer it went on, the Max just rode into the distance.
And that's when you can't always just rely on the VSC or an actual safety car. It's
exactly.
But they're not obviously not watching the race yet. Like you said, they're coming for softs on 25. You would think mediums would last a lot longer than that. What, 5 laps was it, did you say? So
pretty much, yeah.
Then the pit stop, the strategy would have come back to them. Did they pit too early, given that there was on a harder wearing compound, like you said, or did the mediums give up? Was it a case of actually
no
lasted that long?
I think the hands was forced a little bit.
Yes, agree.
Ferrari came in.
Right.
I think Ferrari came in early, and because of that, it was then a case of, if we don't come in now, when we do come in, you're going to come out behind them and pretty far down in the grid. So it was that kind of, look, cards have been dealt now. We've got to kind of go with it.
The hards would only give them an advantage for like the last 10 laps of the race, so they had to do it when they did it, or it was all going to kind of go to pot, because again, Red Bull and Ferrari were going to kind of just run away with it.
Right.
Well, they proved it though, didn't they? Max proved it, and you already said it. Red Bull went out there and they did it, and they did. I mean, Christ, lap 25, Max made his pit, went onto the mediums, and he stayed out.
I read a really good statistic. He did 50 consecutive laps. Okay, they had the BSC for 2 of them. 122 every single lap. Even the last lap when he was 9 seconds in front. 122, 122, 122, 122. That's class. To keep that pace and concentration up for that long.
It's giving him the most wins in a single F1 season, isn't it now? 14.
Still 2.
When he reached the salary cap.
Who's he beat? Can you give me the names, Tony? And one of them is not Senna.
Vettel is one of them.
You're on the spot. You are?
Vettel.
Yep.
Hamilton.
Nope.
Schumacher.
Yep. Well done.
You've been
reading your book. No, just them 2.
Oh, he gets rammed down your throat every second of Sky Sports.
I've got 2 notes about the crashes. So the Gasly and Stroll crash, or sorry, the Gasly and Stroll incident where Gasly got a penalty for. What did you guys think to that?
It's just racing. It's just aggressive racing. I think Gasly How many penalties has he got this season?
A lot.
Like, come on, somebody needs to reel him in. Like,
you just said it was
taking him in
racing.
now.
You just said it
A
was
good
racing.
bit.
Come on, get your mind up, pal. You
Just
said
racing.
it was just racing.
Aggressive.
He didn't turn the car. He literally ran him off the road, and I don't want to defend Lance Stroll. To me, he just ran him off the road, clearly. I don't know what you think, James.
Interesting.
What do you think? But someone needs to rein him in.
Last year in Brazil, Max Verstappen took Hamilton out straight off the track, and they both went off the track, and nothing was done. Nothing was said.
It wasn't as aggressive as that. That literally, Gasly, he did not turn the steering wheel at all. He just went, on the inside, you're going to the outside now, boy. Like, literally, he didn't even try and turn his car.
He probably used his normal excuse of, I didn't see him.
Yeah.
That chestnut.
The Tsunoda-Ricciardo crash.
This was the other point I wanted to talk about, really, from this race. It's the only other real talking point there is. Just for what, and not because of the crash itself, but what Ricciardo did afterwards was fucking awesome.
You see, I ain't seen that. All I've seen is the YouTube clip of the crash, so I've got an opinion on that, and I know Ricciardo got a penalty for it. What did he do afterwards?
Just fucking drove like a champ.
I thought he did some kind of like cool action at him. Yeah, he come back through the field. Yeah, I thought he was
his car changed into a transformer,
the bed or something. You know, like.
Yeah, he stopped the car, got out, took his helmet off, smashed Tsunoda in the face with it, put his helmet back on, and drove off.
And overtook loads of cars.
And overtook a load of cars.
Obviously, Ricciardo got a 10-second penalty. What's your guys' thoughts on the crash? Was it Ricciardo's fault? Was it Tsunoda's fault? Was it 50-50?
I think it's 50-50.
Go on, Tone. What do you think?
No, I think it is Ricciardo's fault.
Really?
Ricciardo's fault.
I think it's Tsunoda's.
Because he's touched him and it's caused...
He squeezed him. He can't disappear. Ricciardo cannot disappear. I 100% put that blame at Tsunoda. And I can't believe when I read that Ricciardo had a penalty. I just can't. I'm gobsmacked.
I don't think you can pin it on one. I think there was on both parties.
Right, interesting.
Probably more towards Ricciardo than Tsunoda.
I mean, personally,
right. I'm not sure the penalty was right. We've seen worse and get less.
Max Verstappen.
It just brought back nightmares of George Russell slamming into people. Ending their race and getting a 5-second penalty.
That's a really good point. He only got 5 seconds for that, didn't he? And he torpedoed Sainz.
And Perez. And Perez. And
and then he threw Buzz, he got RC and made him drive round and hit that revolving lamp and knocked Buzz out the window. We all saw it.
Yeah, and he got 5-second penalty, one arsehole.
He looked at the people's skirt. He did it all.
Yeah, I honestly think. But what made me laugh about the crash was Tsunoda obviously had to retire, and I don't know what damage it had. But Alonso basically did a wheelie, and he carried on. Yet Tsunoda had a bit of a tap, went over Ricciardo's wheel, and then
he had a hole. He had a hole in his
side pod, didn't he? Yeah.
Side pod.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this is what made me laugh, because obviously he kind of limps around, gets into the pit box, and they're starting to change. They're going to go try and change his nose, and then all of a sudden they just stop, and the commentator goes, "Oh, it looks like they found something terminal." Oh, yeah, and then they go wheeling him in. And then, you watch the replay and he's driving around with a massive bloody hole in his side pod. And it's like, you'd think spot that sooner than halfway through changing the nose. It's like, the nose is almost off and you go, oh, hang on, what's this big hole? Is that meant to be there? Yeah. It's a new cooling system that helps on the Mexican track.
It's AlphaTauri, so God knows what they're up to.
Stick some duct tape.
Yeah.
Just...
You want to quickly...
Not today.
Going to quickly run through the finishing order, and then we'll take a break and rant.
So we'll do predictions in second half. I'll let you just rest a little bit, Mark. I know you're a little bit sore on
predictions. We ain't got time.
Got plenty of time.
No,
always time for predictions. I will do a separate podcast just about predictions.
I'm busy that day.
It's all right. We'll get another guest on from Cookie Cast. But yeah, quickly touching on that, Ricciardo, fucking brilliant drive. I mean, overtaking as many people as he did and then getting such a gap that he didn't lose any positions with this penalty. Fucking legend. And yeah, it'll be a shame not to see you there next year, Dan, but maybe the year after. So, fastest lap of the race went to Russell. The overall outcome of the race was Verstappen finishing on the win again. Hamilton in second, Perez third, Russell fourth, Sainz fifth, Leclerc sixth, Ricciardo seventh, GOAT. Ocon in eighth, Norris ninth, Bottas 10th, and then a load of other drivers. And Latifi as well. Latifi did not DNF.
Nice. Yes,
yeah.
Well done, man.
Got a DNF. It did not DNF.
I mean, he's learned how to drive the car, and he's only got 2 races left in his career. I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Well, he's like we said, he was bored of driving. That's why he just went to crashing it every week. And now he's like, oh, you know what? Just before I go, I'll just let everyone see what just remind people what I can do, which is still absolutely fuck all.
Yeah,
real racing.
Yeah. If you're on a push bike with stabilizers. But yeah, let's should we take a break there, folks?
Yeah, let's take a break there then.
So yeah, right, we'll speak to you shortly again then, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey you. Yeah, you that's listening right now. Thanks very much for tuning into this episode of Straight to the Apex, the Formula 1 podcast from CookieCast. If you're enjoying this episode, why not like, share and subscribe? Whilst you're there, feel free to check out some of the other podcasts that CookieCast has to offer. If you like football, we've got a football podcast. NFL more your thing? Then the Laces Out podcast is for you. Maybe even a little bit of the wrestling. Just look for the Getting Over podcast on CookieCast. Maybe you want to listen to Andy's Darkest Timeline. It's there too. So, the F1 boys have probably got themselves a drink. It's time to get back to the action.
You like that?
I love it. And we are straight back into it with Tony not being ready in any way, shape, or form. Straight into the second part of episode 23 of Straight to the Apex.
23, yeah. 23.
Yay! Oh, I was trying to go, oosh. It's like a really bad Keith Lemon ordered from Wish.
There's the thumbnail.
Yeah, if you guys who were listening to this kind of skipped the first half and came into the second half because you didn't want to listen to the race as much as we didn't want to watch it, yep, we're still here, we're still going on, and we are still brought to you by CookieCast. So massive thanks to Andy and the crew as always.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy. Your shows are phenomenal.
They are, because someone's spreading the wings and going on other shows.
Cheating on us a bit.
Tell us anything about it.
Get everywhere.
I mean, just doing all that and then stabbing us in the back, and looking us square in the eyes and telling us you did it.
And the fact that I made us rearrange ours so that it could be on another. I mean, dick move.
You weren't even honest.
No, you could have just said it.
Well, I wanted to keep it a surprise.
I thought you were doing something really, really serious, but you were just cheating on us.
Yeah.
What other things are you doing, Mark? That we need to know.
Don't think you're ready. I don't think you're ready for that type of news. I've already broke your heart once this podcast. I don't think I can do it again.
Yeah,
he knows what to say, doesn't he?
To learn.
Yeah, but how many times have you said that to women?
But
not a lot, believe me.
Yeah, Mark was on another podcast last night. That's part of the Cookie Cast platform for the NFL. So
the Cookie Cast family.
Cookie Cast family. Oh, I think that's better than platform. Yeah, Cast family. The family.
The family, yeah, like it.
But yeah, Mark was on there last night doing the genuine with the NFL guys. Obviously, Mark was down in Wembley, which is why he wasn't watching the race. Which, let's face it, he's one of the lucky ones.
Yep.
But yeah, spent the weekend down there. Watched another game of the NFL, and then came back on Tuesday to talk about it with some of the other lads. So yeah, if you get the opportunity, give that one a listen to as well.
What's your team, Mark?
San Francisco 49ers.
Where in the app most weeks?
Yeah, no.
Why did you pick them?
It was the age-old thing of when you were at school, you pick teams to support. Like basketball was Chicago Bulls because of Michael Jordan. 49ers was because, I'll be brutally honest, they wore red and white like Rovers. So
I'm not going to lie. That's one of the reasons I started supporting the Cardinals. Similar kind of thought. You know what? They're a bit of an underdog as well. They're similar to Rovers. I like the kit. I really like the kit. A lot of it was the kit. I looked at the other. I like that's a shit kit. That's a shit kit. Oh, that one's nice.
And you like the Robin, Cardinal. I like the link. Yeah. Obviously, you support a divisional rival. So I mean, I hate you. Tony, you haven't really got a preference, have you, with NFL? I know we're going off topic here, but you can't really get into it, can you?
No. I think the last time I pledged allegiance to a team was the Browns. But,
is that because you shit yourself?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah. We haven't spoken about that in a long time. At one point, that was a serious topic that came up every week in this podcast.
It was?
Early days. Early days. It was the early days.
I mean...
when Tony was still so nervous, he had no control of his bowels.
I mean, you say that you don't really follow, like, NFL. I mean, you don't really follow Formula 1, so, I mean, it's a bit of a pattern in your life, really.
I mean, who watched the race?
Yeah, but I will watch the race. I will watch the race. You probably watched half of it on Sunday. Don't matter what day you watch it, I will watch the race.
Mark, we've both said, don't.
I know, I want to. I'm a glutton for punishment. I need to watch it because, you know.
All right. Well, do me this favour then. Don't worry about painting the wall, but watch the remake of Ghostbusters.
Okay.
With pretty much all the cast from Bridesmaids. Because at least then the race will be good.
Okay. I'm going to throw something at you, which you might talk about. But what's this controversy with our friend Ted Kravitz and Red Bull?
Ooh, I only just thought of this one as well. I'd completely. So yeah, everyone from Red Bull has turned around now and gone, "Oh, we're not going to talk to anybody from Sky anymore because Ted Kravitz said something really mean."
What did he say?
That Max Verstappen is a. No, he didn't. He didn't. And I did not drop the bomb. I stopped on the.
Yeah, you did. You did stop on that.
I'm a good boy. No,
post race.
Ted had made a comment that Max had stolen the championship from Lewis Hamilton in 2021.
I say, spell the truth.
Post race in the Ted's notebook. Post race of Houston. He was walking around and he was talking as he does, and he said he touched on last season, and he said Lewis got robbed.
And that's why they won't speak to him.
And he said other things, which then prompted people to be like, ooh, that was a bit. But then Max in his interview said it wasn't just this weekend, it was the whole season.
I was about to say, Tony sent us a video. Was it on TikTok? I can't remember now. You sent me a video anyway. It was
I sent you a TikTok with it and the interview saying it.
He actually was there, and he made his points. And I listened to him and I went, no, you know what, mate? Good for you.
Yeah.
He didn't turn around and say, yeah, it's because of that, and I think Ted Kravitz is this, that, and the other. You know, big shout out to Ted, as always.
Love you, Ted.
Love you, Ted.
He actually went out there and he made a really good point. He said, in this day and age, social media is evil. There's a lot of bad comments that gets out there. There's a lot of negativity, and I'm done with it. And it's very similar to what a lot of other drivers have said. Hamilton's been saying it in the past. Tony, you touched on it earlier with the boos at Hamilton and stuff like that. And yeah, Max has made a move, and
I don't know. First of all,
if that's the reason, then I'm all for it. If it's just because of the Ted Kravitz, then it's a little bit, come on.
Ted's comments when I watched it, I was a bit like, wow, ooh, that's a bit close to the bone. They are a media outlet, and they have to be impartial.
No doubt. We're a media outlet. You have your own opinions.
Okay.
You're not the BBC, you're not controlled.
But the size of them, they need to be impartial, don't they? Really? I mean, it's just us three talking a lot of crap, and we can't. I'm not going to be impartial because we have 5 viewers, one of them being my wife. So if I'm going to say how I feel, it boils down to what you said there, James. Free speech and social media, and that's a massive topic. To end my point, I agree with you, James. Good on Max. If he feels that way and they want to do that, you do that. That's fine. At least you've said your opinion and you've acted upon it, and I respect that. That's fine. I feel a different way. I feel, as I've already said, and I'll voice that because that's my speech and that's the way I feel about it. And I think that's how we should all go on.
Do you think it's more that's Max's reason for not doing it? Because that's not the first thing that Max has ever turned around and said, I ain't doing it anymore, because obviously he doesn't do Drive to Survive. He wants nothing to do with that because he doesn't like how he's portrayed in there, but he's also made the comments of other drivers, and a lot of drivers at the end of this season's Drive to Survive actually turned around and went, what have we done to Lando?
Well, the Lando Ricciardo thing, they made it like they hated each other, didn't they?
Yeah, because I mean, watching the actual season, race on weekend, race on race, the banter between, granted, it wasn't the same as him and Sainz and stuff like that, but there was still banter. There just still seems to be general banter and everything else going on. But then on Drive to Survive, it just came across as, Norris just didn't have a fucking shit to give about him.
And basically, I mean, this year's Drive to Survive will probably focus on Lando Norris, push Daniel Ricciardo out the team, won't they? You know what I mean? It's
yeah, probably.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, again, right? It Drive to Survive. Surely, when somebody was signing on the dotted line for that, they would have known that what it was going to turn out, and it's turned out to be a pantomime. Which it's interesting. It's great to watch. It's entertaining, but I've said it before. This is a motorsport racing, motorsport. This isn't anything. This isn't nothing else. It's all about the racing. But these American owners are pushing this Drive to Survive. They're pushing this logic, trying to commercialize the sport
and make it entertainment.
Yeah,
and make it entertainment. But this is what this, and then again, this is my opinion. This is what they do because that's what they do in America. And you know what? This really kindly compliments what we were talking about at the start of this segment. NFL, it's a business. It's just sell, sell, sell. And on the pitch, it's very competitive. Look at the other sports. Look at the basketball. Look at the baseball. And now look at the Premier League. And now it's happening to F1. And that doesn't sit right with me. It's going away from the raw racing, motorsport, engineering to pantomime, who's at each other's throats, who's done something wrong, I don't like that. I'd sooner concentrate on the racing. Last year was so exciting because it was about the racing. And now it's kind of turned into so-and-so's done this because he doesn't like that. And he said this, so which means this. And it goes against that person and that person's pissed off. So they've got to do that now. And I don't like that pisses me off. Anyway, we've gone completely off topic.
But
how does anybody else feel?
I think you're right. I think Liberty have made Formula One popular, which isn't a bad thing, but the way they've done it is bad.
It's heavily dramatised now. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
And anyone who knows how the media works, like Tony, what you were saying there about signing on the dotted line. Even when you sign that dotted line, you know for a fact. I work around data all the time, and I know how easily stuff can get manipulated. And when you've got all the film, all the negative and everything else, and you can go, I've got 100% of Lando Norris. If I just get rid of this 90%, get this 5% from here, and this 5%, put them together, I can make him look a dick. But that is what the media can do. They know what the crowd want and they will feed it because that's what then funds them.
And I'll be honest, I fell into that. What an arrogant little shit is pushing out a legend of the game and is trying to be something that is not. It's not really. He's just living his life as a young man, driving for fucking one of the best F1 teams, one of the most biggest F1 teams.
Why do you hate him so much then? Why do you hate him so much?
Because where are McLaren? Where are they? Who are they? At this season, who are they? Where are they? We spoke more about Lando Norris and Ricciardo, what they haven't done, than more what they have done. There's supposed to be this big team that's like got all this money and everybody loves Lando. Everybody loves Ricciardo. Where's the car on the grid? It's in the mid-pack. It's fighting for the points.
Are you took a breath yet? Fucking hell, mate. You all right yet?
Normally I enjoy these Tony's rants, but this one, fucking hell. I'm going to paint a wall when I listen back to this bit and just...
You're painting a lot of walls tonight.
Fucking that wall.
Oh, James is going to decorate. Are you? Nah.
They just seem to get a lot of airtime. But not a lot of racing. Good racing. Okay, this weekend, Ricciardo, yes. Why haven't we? It's tough for the third to last race for him to, in his interview, to say the car gave something back today. I could lean on the car today. Well, where has that been? He couldn't, in his interview, he couldn't put his finger on it. What?
Well, think about what you just said there, Tony. If we go back to one of the early days podcasts when we was all socially awkward doing this shit, I think it was Mark. Yeah, fairly certain it was Mark. Well, I don't think it was me, and it definitely won't have been you, Tony. You didn't have your F1 guidebook by the time at that time. Yeah, Mark made a comment that Ricciardo had the same issue when he left Red Bull. It took him half a season or something like that to get used to the car.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case now, but it's maybe an interesting point.
If he'd have had another season, like on his contract, because he had all the next season on contract, you might have seen a different driver. But we'll never know.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So, what you got next, James?
So I got a really weird controversial theory, and I think it's because the race was just so piss poor. And I was thinking about Perez and Max and how the season started for Perez and Max and how the season changed for Perez and Max around the time that all of a sudden Perez was in contention for the World Championship. It went from Max's car not being all that great to Perez's car not being all that great. And that kind of went on and on and on. And we made the jokes that, Max is getting a fresh engine every other week, but they're saying, oh yeah, Perez has got it and he's getting another penalty. But yeah, that race was that boring, and I hadn't painted any walls at the time. So I started thinking weird shit. And for some reason, it got me onto the topic of the Titanic. And this little theory of, for insurance purposes, the White Star Line switched the Titanic and the Britannic. And it was actually the Britannic that sank. I know this is massively off and this entire thing.
Shit, where the fuck are we going?
This is deep.
Has been bullshit. So I started thinking,
I like what you did there.
Yeah. Just like the Titanic.
You know what? Is this what's going on here? Has these little jokes I've been making every week about Max and Perez's cars actually being swapped actually a thing? Horner just walked up to both cars, got the numbers, and just went, and then just slapped it on the other car. There you go, problem solved.
We've said this all season, half joking, half wouldn't be surprised if Christian Horner did this. I'm under the illusion that Max Verstappen has had a brand new engine and Perez has had used every time.
I just want to make the point, though, as well here. This isn't me saying this is the only way Max could win the championship. I've said it episodes now. Max has fully deserved his championship this season. He's just driven phenomenal. And he's shown that over the last couple of races. I mean, last week's race where he went from fighting with Lewis Hamilton to having like a 7-second lead on him in the last few laps. And then this race as well, where he finished with a 9-second gap again. The kid's phenomenal, and he's really going to do well, and it probably is going to be another Red Bull domination for the next few years. But it just seems interesting how as soon as Perez came into contention, it all kind of turned to shit for Perez.
Tony's got his hand up for a while.
I know. I was hoping he wanted to go to the toilet, so I was going to drag it out as long as I could.
Motherfucker. You motherfucker. No, I actually, to tie into what you're all saying, pre-contract, we were talking about Perez versus Max and who was number one, and we kind of was like, Max is number one. And he was driving very, very well, Perez. And then post-contract, I think it was very close to that, is it Monaco win? Again, this is my opinion, I think it was, what's the word? Reiterated? Is that the word? Max is number one and will always be number one in this team. So anything that is new, upgrades, whatever, the advantage in the race, whatever, will go into Max. That's my first point. Mm-hmm. Second point, and you know what you said there, Mark, about engines and whatnot. Perez got a new engine and took a penalty in America. Well, that's quite late on in the season, and it was pretty much over then. So that's that ties in with what he said. I've always said that Max, there's something about Max's car that it's a lot better than the rest. A lot better.
I totally agree with James in the sense that I'm not taking or trying to take anything away from Max Verstappen. He is the best driver currently in F1, hands down.
Yeah.
But that team is as bent as I don't know what. They are cheating motherfucker. And I'm not saying it's a full team, but I am saying Christian Horner, you would not trust him with anything because we haven't touched on it yet. Obviously, the Red Bull penalty and the fine for breaching the cap. But in his press conference, for him to come out and say, I think every team should apologise to Red Bull and me. Why? Because you were over the cap. So I read today, the cap was $145 million. There was $2.2 million over with a caveat. The caveat was, if a tax credit had been correctly applied, there would have been only over by $0.5 million. Only. You're still over. So why should McLaren and every other team apologise to you? You are over the limit.
Whether you're $1 over or you're bloody $2.5 million over, you're over. You're getting penalised.
So yeah, why are you asking teams to apologise to you? He's an arrogant son of a bitch. He really is.
Well, Mike's not going for a job at Red Bull anytime soon.
I applied for one. I applied for one last year. I will never get one now. And I won't want one because...
We need your help with some 3D designing. Oh, yeah, what are you going to do? We need a new nose wing for an F1 car. You like your F1, don't you? Oh, yeah. Have you ever met Christian Horner? Like,
no, but I've talked about him quite a lot.
Suddenly you hear those like air raid sirens from like Kill Bill going off.
I just...
What are you doing, Mark?
If he interviewed me, I don't think I could restrain from telling him what an absolute fucking knob I think he is.
I'd pay to watch that.
I'd probably want to shake his hand and just say, mate, you're banging an absolute MILF.
Really?
I think James, this is what would go in my head. James is like spit in his hand, shake his hand, and then like fucking wink at him, like, yeah. And then just walk away.
I hate you, but respect you.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of like, yeah.
I mean, do we talk, you've probably got it, James, in your notes, how much there was fined and what penalty they've had. Do you think that's too harsh or harsh? Or
the penalty or the fine?
So $7 million fine and a wind tunnel penalty, which is a reduction of 10%.
He reckons that represents between 0.25 seconds and half a second of lap time.
But he's a liar, so let's not believe anything he says. Do you think that?
Bullshit!
Yeah. I need every
time
he talks on Sky now, because obviously Red Bull aren't talking to him. Every time he talks on Sky now, there should be a big red buzzer in the background, maybe built into the Sky logo, and it just says bullshit on it, and a light goes off.
You only get all the graphics on the phone, like when you're in the driver's car and you've got the halo there, and you've got all the little odometers kind of thing. You just have like a bullshit odometer.
Yeah,
and it starts talking. It goes from 0 to.
There's one
I'd like
thing.
To see subtitles by Mark. So as soon as you start speaking, Mark's subtitles come up at the bottom like, I'm a lying piece of shit. Fuck Mercedes. We were better today.
The one good thing
I'd like to speak to you.
Maybe not talking to Sky is that Simon Lazenby has now lost his mate that they always seem to go to on the pit wall. And Christian Horner always appears on Sky. Before the race, after the race, during the race. He might actually not be on our telly as much now, which is a massive bonus.
Which is amazing. So.
But going back to my point, James, do you think that penalty was fair, harsh, or way under what it should have been?
I think it's under. But at the same time, I don't think anyone knows what they would have wanted. And I think whatever the outcome would have been, everyone would have still been underwhelmed.
That's a good
I
point.
think right, but I think they should then have. It should be the case of it's the fine plus whatever you fucking went over by. So if it was 2.5 mil you said or something like that?
2.2.
So the 2.2. So it to me the fine should be 9.2.
And that should be taken off the 145 mil for next season.
Yeah, and it should be affecting the next cap.
What do you think, Tony?
I think it was soft as shit. However, I was expecting it, and I lowered my expectations on the podcast previous.
You did.
It should be points. It should be points. You don't think it should be points?
I think they should be banned from the championship for the season. Yeah, I think because they lose all that prize money. I think obviously you can compete, but a bit like McLaren when they cheated with Ferrari, you just don't score points, and you get the smallest garage, the smallest budget. Let's hit them. But I do agree with James. James made a really good point. Whatever, no one knows what they should have been given. That is a really, really valid point. It's not whatever there was given. No, everyone has all these crazy ideas, but deep down, getting serious.
Nobody
knew what should be given. No.
And
that's fucking scary.
Adam, when we had this chat before, and we was all going down we should do what they did to Melbourne Storm and stuff like that, and go right. You know what? Nil point for you next season and all that kind of stuff. I know we're talking, NRL and rugby league and stuff like that, but it's what happens in them types of sports. So why can't it happen in Formula One? Why can't it have those kind of impacts with your points and your tables and stuff like that? But let's face it, with those fines, if that fine went against the next salary, the next budget, yes, that would then have implications further on in the next couple of years. And at the same time, the wind tunnel bit, I really hope that it does, make the difference of 0.25 and 0.5 seconds. I think the first thing I thought when I read Horner's comments there was, well, that's all right, because the amount you fucking went over by was probably the difference of 0.25 and 0.5 seconds as well, you cheating dick.
Yeah, I just think that it's now going to open a can of worms next season where every team's just going to go, do you know what? Don't really spend.
Yeah, a lot of your team, your Mercedes, your stuff like that, a lot of your big players, Ferrari, where they've got that fucking money just down the back of the couch, you'd be like, so I can go over the cap, I can do this. I've only got to fork out 7 mil.
Did you hear one of his excuses why they went over?
Catering, wasn't it?
No. So basically, apparently the season before the budget come in, a lot of teams had basically ran with that's all they could spend as like a test season. You know what I mean? So they all did the budgets at 145 to see if they could survive that season competitive. And obviously some probably went over, and then there was like, right, that's where we need to save next year, blah, blah, blah. Horner said, oh yeah, we didn't do that. Well, whose fault's that? Whose fault's that?
Exactly.
It's not the rest of the grids, is it?
There was a really interesting interview with is it Gunther of Haas, and he said literally they've budgeted under the budget, which you'd think that's a very, very sensible thing to do. So they'd have a gap. They'd have like at the end of the season, they wouldn't be at the budget because they've budgeted all the way through. And I thought, yeah, that's really how it should be done, not fucking push the limit. But that's exactly what you were saying, Mark. That's what they're going to do now, next season.
Yeah.
They just...
Red Bull, and I'm not saying this as a Red Bull hater, but Red Bull should have been made an example of because they were the only team. I know with Aston Martin as well, but them two should have been made an example of to scare teams off going over budget in the next few seasons. I mean, Audi now are coming in a few years. They'll probably say, you know what, we'll spend 300 million.
Yeah. Fuck it. We've set up the team. We'll just sacrifice a season or two, and then we're back on the game.
Yeah, boom, done it.
Audi factory team.
Yeah,
baby.
Just brings the sponsors in.
On that note,
Nice.
so we've run out of time, so we're going now, yeah. Thanks ever so much for listening, watching.
No. I've got the clock here, Mark. We've still got 6 minutes and 50 seconds. That's plenty of time to go.
I've still got some things.
Do we take a break and come back?
It's 10 o'clock now. Are they quick?
Not really. Alonso comments.
I mean, I'll quite happily talk about these for 6 minutes, and then we don't have to do the predictions.
Should we save it for next week? Next week's podcast, or?
Yeah, let's save it for next week. Tony.
Are you sure?
Or do you want? Yeah, look, James is the host. He makes the call.
I mean, the Mexico theme tune was fantastic. Don't know if anybody heard that.
Yeah.
You didn't hear the Mexican theme tune?
Well, no, I watched it. No.
Just the F1 theme, but with like a
Mexican.
Oh, I saw it in qualifying with the Liberace band. They did like the F1's music, didn't they? Yeah, that was good.
Perfect. We need that every week. It's also, in my opinion, the best podium where they kind of come through the floor.
Yeah.
Like fucking Superman. And Alonso's comments I thought was really fucking shit. Max's titles are worth more than Hamilton's. I have a lot of respect for Lewis.
I am going with James, what he said earlier about social media twisting stuff. This is twice it's happened, and I know Alonso should have learned his lesson, but he didn't actually say that. The reporter took the bits that made it sound like a story out of that interview. I did read that, and yeah.
I read it, and I think Alonso's a hater, but maybe not. Maybe I need to read into this more.
Maybe you're a hater.
Well, why not? There's only 3 drivers he hates at the moment. Why not round it up?
Yeah.
20.
Right.
See
you next week then. Later. Bye. Bye.
See you next week, guys. See you later. Bye.
Sit the hell there. You sit there and you listen to this.
Okay.
Yes, Daddy.
So, I like it when you call me Daddy. Do it again. So,
we're going now.
Marky Poos.
Get it over with, James. Go on.
You had 41 points.
Yeah.
I was in the lead with 46.
Yeah.
And Tony was in second with 43. So, Mark, you went with Perez for the win, which I thought was interesting with it being Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Max in second and Leclerc third. So you got nil point. Tony, you had Max for the win, so there's a nice fat 3 points. You had Perez in second, Hamilton third, so you get a good healthy 3 points, which gets you up to 46. Me, I had Max for the win. I had Hamilton in second. And I had, as Tony would put it, that shitty Mexican driver, Perez, in third.
Mark, you're on my ass with my wife. He's the one that his wife is on him.
Oh, no.
Whoa, hang on. Are you saying that Charlie... Right, I tell you what, next podcast, I will get Charlie on here and she will give a witness statement that she has got nothing to do with these predictions. Mainly because I pretty much just wing it and make it up on the spot.
We'll do a test next week. Don't you tell her your predictions and then just randomly shout at her and get her to do predictions on the fly, and let's see if you match.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. All right.
I mean, I was going to say wives do predictions for the last race. That'd be amazing.
But yeah, either way, it worked well for me. I got all 3 drivers, which is 6 points, and then because I got all 3 drivers, I get 1 bonus point, which totals 7, Mark, which puts me at 53.
Damn it, with 2 races to go. Damn it. Damn you.
You can still pass him if you get 7 and 7, and he gets 0-0.
So should we save the predictions for the next race for next week?
For Brazil?
I think we should do it.
Yeah.
Let's do predictions next week and have a little special one.
So do an in-between race podcast next week.
With the predictions on. Yeah. Let's do that.
Because it's getting fucking serious now. Really fucking serious.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm going to make up some new rules.
My wife's vows. My wife's wedding promises are on this. Like, if I lose,
Tony, at the moment,
fucked already.
Well, at the moment, mate, her vows are staying solid. I mean, you haven't got the shoey at the moment. Mark has.
No,
Mark is capable. He's
very
capable.
I need a week to think about my predictions.
His quizzing form is impeccable. So his knowledge is like big brain. So.
And on that bombshell.
Good night, big brain.
Another famous threesome who probably know about as much as cars as we do about F1. That is it, I think. We all good?
Yeah.
But as always, folks, another massive shout out to Andy and the Cookie Cast family. Share the love, pass it out to your dog walkers, your window cleaners, your mas, your dads, sisters, brothers, cousins, your mistresses, whatever. Mark, stop tapping the watch. I've got 17 seconds left. I'm going to drag this out now. But yeah, get everyone to listen to the podcast, get everyone to listen to the NFL ones, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.
So there you go, what do you think to that? Another one done. More races than you can shake a stick at. Past races, new races, all the races. Did you like our little bit in the middle? It's a new thing we're doing here. If you like it, let us know. You can let us know by like, share, subscribe and comment. Drop us reviews. And if you're feeling in the mood for a website, please jump over to thecookiecast.com. Check us out over there. We've got social media links and an email button. You can get in touch with us and let us know how much you love this podcast. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
How awesome is that? So awesome. You got to like, share and subscribe.